Honorable members, in the message, His Excellency the President conveys that in exercise of powers conferred on him by Article 152.2, 154.2, and 156.2 of the Constitution, as read together with Sections 3 and 5 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, he has nominated various persons for appointment to the aforementioned offices. For clarity, these provisions of the Constitution state as follows. 152, Cabinet. The President shall nominate and with the approval of the National Assembly appoint Cabinet Secretaries. 154, Secretary to the Cabinet. The Secretary to the Cabinet shall be nominated and with the approval of the National Assembly appointed by the President. 156, the Attorney General. The Attorney General shall be nominated by the President and with the approval of the National Assembly appointed by the President. Honorable members, the names of persons submitted to this House for approval to be appointed as Cabinet Secretaries are as follows. 1. Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, EGH, Office of the Prime Cabinet Minister. 2. Honorable Professor Kithure Kindiki, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior and National Administration. 3. Professor Njuguna Ndungu, CBS, Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning. 4. The Honorable Alice Wahome, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. 5. Honorable Aden Duale, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Defense. 6. Ms. Rebecca Miano, CBS, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of East African Community and ASALS and Regional Development. 7. Honorable Alfred Mutua, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs. 8. Honorable Aisha Jumwa Katana, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action. 9. Honorable Moses Kiarie Kuria, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Trade, Investment and Industry. 10. Honorable Soipani Tuya, CBS, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Environment and Forestry. 11. Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Roads, Transport and Public Works. Can the members at the bar take their seats, please? Twelve, the Honorable Penina Malonza, OGW, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage. 13, Mr. Sakaraya Mwangi Njeru, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development. 14, Susan Nahumicha Wafula, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Health. 15, Honorable Mithika Linduri, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Agriculture and Livestock Development. 16, Mr. Eliud Owalo, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy. 17, Honorable Ezekiel Machogu, CBS, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Education. 18, Mr. Davis Chirchir, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. 19, Honorable Ababu Namwamba, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Youth Affairs, Sports and Arts. 20, Mr. Simon Chelugui, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Cooperatives and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, MSME Development. 21, Honorable Salim Mvurya, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Mining, the Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs. 22, Honorable Florence Bore, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Labor and Social Protection. Honorable members, in the message, HE, the President also conveys that he has nominated the Honorable Justin Bedan Njoka Muturi, EGH, as the Attorney General and Ms. Mercy Wanjau as Secretary to the Cabinet. His Excellency the President now seeks the approval of the National Assembly on the nominees for appointment to the said offices. Honorable members, as you are aware, the Committee on Appointments is yet to be constituted, despite the provisions of Standing Order 2042 requiring that the committee be appointed within 7 days on assembly of a new House. This has been occasioned by the fact that the House Business Committee, which is yet to be formed, on account of the question of the leadership of the majority party and the minority party, which I will just rule on after this. It is in the House Business Committee, which is charged with the responsibility of nominating members to sit in the Committee on Appointments, save for the slots reserved for the leadership of the House. Honorable members, having resolved, I think it's jumping the gun, having resolved the stalemate in a short time to come, we will then move to the next level to process these appointments. Honorable members, Section 8 of the Public Appointments Act 2012 provides, unless otherwise provided in law, the committee to which such nomination is referred shall consider the matter and table a report in the House within 28 days. It is therefore imperative that the Committee on Appointments, once formed, immediately commences the process of consideration of the nominees to enable speedy conclusion of the vetting process within the set timelines. I will also direct the Clerk of the National Assembly to take the necessary steps and notify the nominees and the general public through an advertisement in the daily newspapers of national circulation and on the parliamentary website of the time and place of holding the approval hearings. This should be done by Friday, tomorrow, the 7th of October 2022, following which the Committee on Appointments should commence the approval hearings. The committee is expected to table its report in the House on or before Tuesday, the 27th October 2022. In accordance with the law, the House will be required to consider the committee's report and make a decision on the nominees within 7 days following tabling of the report. That is on or before 3rd of November 2022. The House is accordingly guided. Thank you. Honorable members, can the members at the bar take their seats? Honorable members, the following is a ruling on a matter that has been contested before this House, a matter that has been contested in correspondence with my office, and a matter that has taken center stage in the public media on the issue of leadership of the National Assembly in the 13th Parliament. And here I go. Honorable members, you will recall that during the afternoon sitting of Tuesday, 4th October 2022, I did inform the House that a question had arisen on the manner of constituting the House Business Committee, especially with regard to the membership reserved for the leaders and the whips of the majority party and the minority party, respectively. In guiding the House on the business to be transacted before the establishment of the House Business Committee and the manner in which the business would be moved, I did indicate that a question had arisen as to who the bona fide leader of the majority party in the House is. I proceeded to allow the House to address me on this matter and gave priority to the designated party leaders and whips of the Kenya Kwanza coalition and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition political party. In the debate that ensued, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah tabled various coalition agreements entered into by the constituent parties of the Kenya Kwanza coalition and deposited with the Registrar of Political Parties. The Honorable Silvanus Osoro also tabled letters relating to the matter as excerpt of the minutes of the parliamentary group meeting and a list of attendees of the meeting during which the party leaders were elected. Similarly, honorable members, the Honorable Opio Wandai tabled a copy of a letter dated 7th September 2022 from the Registrar of Political Parties addressed to the Clerk of the National Assembly, conveying what the Registrar termed as constituent parties of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, the name of one party which was not affiliated to any coalition, and an indication of parties that had filed constitutional petitions and objections on their membership of the Azimio coalition. Honorable members, while contributing to the debate, the Honorable Junaid Mohammed also tabled what he claimed to be the coalition agreement entered into between the constituent parties of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party. Several other members also weighed in on the matter, including the Honorable Member for Garissa Town, Adan Duale, nominated member, the Honorable John Badi, the member for Ugenya, the Honorable David Ocheng, the member for Tiati, the Honorable William Kamket, the member for Kimilili, the Honorable Didmas Baraza, the member for Kadhiani, the Honorable Robert Mbui, the member for Enakoi, the Honorable Samuel Chepkonga, the member for Embakasi East, the Honorable Babu Wino, the member for Kiharu, the Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, nominated member, the Honorable Sabina Chege, the member for Kibwezi West, the Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, the member for Mandera North, the Honorable Bashir Abdullahi, the member for Laikipia North, the Honorable Sarah Korere, the member for Ganze, the Honorable Kenneth Kazungu Charo, the member for Alego Songa, the Honorable Samuel Atandi. Other honorable members who spoke on the matter include the member for Tinderet, the Honorable Julius Meli, the member for Kilifi North, the Honorable Owen Bayer, the member for Kabondo Kaspul, the Honorable Eva Obara, the member for Kangundo, the Honorable Fabian Muli, the member for Dagoretti South, the Honorable John Kiarie, the member for Embakasi South, the Honorable Julius Mawade, the member for Kiminini, the Honorable Bisao Kakai, the member for Emuhaya, the Honorable Omboko Milemba, the member for Taraka, the Honorable George Murugara, the member for Dagoretti North, the Honorable Beatrice Elachi, and at the conclusion of the debate, I reserved my considered ruling for today. There are many other members who came up on a point of order. I need not mention them. On the onset, honorable members, permit me to amplify a portion of the contribution made by the Honorable John Badi, in which is key to the resolution of this matter. The Hansard records the Honorable Badi as having said that there is no contention over which members constitute the leadership of both the Kenya Kwanza coalition and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition. The only contention that exists and which formed the basis of the debate which ensued is over which of the two is the majority. Honorable members, Article 108 of the Constitution establishes the offices of party leaders in Parliament and outlines the order of precedence to be observed in the National Assembly. The article provides as follows: there shall be a leader of the majority party and a leader of the minority party. The leader of the majority party shall be the person who is the leader in the National Assembly of the largest party or a coalition of parties. The leader of the minority party shall be the person who is the leader of the National Assembly of the second largest party or coalition of parties. The following order of precedence shall be observed in the National Assembly. That is sub-article 4 of 108. The Speaker of the National Assembly, the leader of the majority party, and the leader of the minority party. Honorable members, what is clear from the Constitution is that the leader of the majority party must lead either a party or a coalition of parties in the National Assembly. I invite the House to note my emphasis on the word either. Honorable members, Article 92 of the Constitution mandates Parliament to enact legislation on various aspects of political parties. To this end, the Political Parties Act 2011 was enacted. This law has been amended severally, including as late as February this year. Honorable members, you will note that Section 2 of the Political Parties Act 2011 defines a political party as an association of citizens with an identifiable ideology or program that is constituted for the purpose of influencing public policy or nominating candidates to contest elections. The term is further defined to include a coalition political party. Under the same section, a coalition is defined as an alliance of two or more political parties formed for the purpose of pursuing a common goal and is governed by a written agreement deposited with the registrar. On the other hand, honorable members, a coalition political party is defined as a coalition that is registered by the registrar as a political party. Interestingly, Section 10(1) of the Act allows two or more political parties to form a coalition or a coalition political party before or after an election on condition that they deposit a coalition agreement with the registrar. Honorable members, what I discern from these definitions of Section 10(1) of the Act is that Parliament, in its wisdom, legislated as follows: that two or more political parties may form a coalition or a coalition party and deposit a written agreement with the registrar. Further, that a coalition of two or more parties may register itself as a political party with the registrar under the Act. You will agree with me that this legislation creates a unique and puzzling scenario where a coalition, which is a conglomeration of parties, can also be treated as a political party on its own right. Honorable members, I note that in the letter that I received from the member for Suna East, the Honorable Junaid Mohammed, on this matter, he submitted names of leaders representing the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party. Curiously, in the same letter, the honorable member signed off as Secretary General of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition. This begs the question of whether Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition is a coalition, political party, or both. In the debate over this matter, several members argued that a coalition political party is a perfectly legal vehicle that was used in the just concluded election to allow individual and corporate membership within a coalition. In my understanding of Section 2 and Section 10 of the Political Parties Act, Parliament permitted a coalition political party to elect to assume the character of either a party or a coalition. Honorable members, in the last general election, it is evident that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya elected to behave as several political parties in certain categories of elections, and as one political party with regard to the election of the president. It is without doubt that if it were to be considered as a political party, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party has no elected member in this House today, as no member was elected under its banner. This is easily discernible from Gazette notices number 9950 and 9951 of 2022, both dated 23rd August 2022, and Gazette Notice number 10535 of 2022, dated 5th September 2022, in which the IEBC, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, declare the persons duly elected as members of this House and their respective political parties. Further, honorable members, it is notable that with respect to the members nominated to this House, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition political party elected to nominate members under the names of its constituent parties. This can be seen from the Gazette Notice number 10537 of 2022, dated 7th September 2022, and Gazette Notice number 10710 of 2022, dated 9th September 2022. The Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party seems to have elected to enter this House in both elective and nominative positions through its individual constituent parties. It is a clear demonstration of the coalition party's respect for freedom of association under Article 36 of the Constitution, which exercise of political rights under Article 38 of the Constitution, and the freedom of speech and debate in the House under Article 117 of the Constitution. Honorable members, Article 108 of the Constitution also allows a coalition to elect and designate their choice of the leader of the majority party. The claim by the Kenya Kwanza coalition is based under this limb. Similarly, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition political party has staked its claim to the leadership of the majority party in exercise of its second skin as a coalition. Honorable members, what is clear from the Constitution is that the leader of the majority party must lead either a party or a coalition of parties in the National Assembly, and not both. Indeed, I noted earlier in this communication, in determining the matter confronting the House today, one must ask the question whether the entities claiming the leadership of the majority party are parties or coalitions. The provision of the Constitution seems not to envisage the position of the leader of the majority party being claimed by an entity that is both a party and a coalition of parties. It is apparent that, honorable members, while the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition political party elected to behave as a political party in certain categories of elections in the last general election, it has now staked its claim to the leadership of the majority party in this House, using its second skin as a coalition. The issue that arises at this stage is whether this conduct is in conformity with the expectation of Article 108 of the Constitution, which requires an entity to elect one of the two choices. You will recall that before the Sindie adjournment of the 12th Parliament, the standing orders were amended to insert a new standing order 2B. This provision requires the clerk of the National Assembly to obtain a certified copy of any coalition agreement entered into between two or more political parties. This amendment was necessitated by a dispute that arose at the beginning of the 12th Parliament on the entitlement of the constituent parties of the then National Super Alliance Coalition, commonly referred to as NASA Coalition, to a share in the membership of the Parliamentary Service Commission. It was not possible for the then Speaker to resolve the issue without access to and perusal of the then NASA Coalition's agreement deposited with the Registrar. Apart from resolving any disputes related to the membership of the Parliamentary Service Commission, it would interest members to note that pursuant to Article 2152 of the Constitution, part of the membership of the Commission on Revenue Allocation is also drawn from nominees of the majority party and the minority parties in the House. This is the basis upon which the standing order was introduced in the last Parliament, so as to enable the Speaker to discern the undertakings made by the parties with regard to the positions available to the House, the sharing of nominees for appointment to commissions such as the Parliamentary Service Commission and the Commission on Revenue Allocation, entitlement to positions in the East African Legislative Assembly, and where necessary, determining the relative majorities in the House. Journals of the House indicate that this provision was hardly intended to be used to resolve questions of which party or coalition of parties has sufficient numbers in this House so as to be entitled to elect the leader of the majority party. Honorable members, the Political Parties Act provides a general framework for the formation of coalitions, but leaves the substantive provisions to the formulation of the respective parties to a coalition. Where the substantive provisions of a coalition agreement are unclear, ambiguous, or are in contention, the interpretation of the intent of the parties is left to the general jurisdiction of the legal system. Nevertheless, honorable members, perusal of an agreement entered between the partners in a coalition would greatly assist, resolve, or forestall unnecessary disputes likely to impede the conduct of the business of the House. Indeed, upon obtaining a copy of the NASA coalition agreement, my immediate predecessor did urge that the provision of the coalition agreements to the House should become standard practice. This is what informed the introduction of new Standing Order 2B in our rules of procedure. Honorable members, with regard to the coalition agreements affecting the affairs of the 13th Parliament, the clerk did write to the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties on 2nd September 2022. In her letter, entitled Request for Information and Copies of Coalition Agreements pursuant to the National Assembly Standing Order 2B, the clerk provided the registrar with a list of parties with representation in the House at the time. The clerk sought the following from the registrar, and I quote, "Guidance on which particular political parties from the list above are in coalition arrangements, please include the date of the registration of the coalitions." 2, information on changes made to any of the coalition agreements or partnerships that are in place and the dates of the changes, if any. And 3, certified copies of the coalition arrangements entered into by any of the parties listed herein. Honorable members, in response, the registrar noted that at 21st April 2022, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party comprised 26 political parties, namely Jubilee Party, JP, Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, Wiper Democratic Movement, WDM, Kenya African National Union, KANU, National Rainbow Coalition, NAC, National Rainbow Coalition Kenya, NAC Kenya, Muungano Party, Maendeleo Chap Party, Democratic Action Party, DAP-K, Devolution Empowerment Party, United Party of Independent Alliance, United Democratic Movement, UDM, United Progressive Alliance, UPA, Pamoja African Alliance, PAA or PA, Kenya Union Party, KUP, United Democratic Party, UDP, Movement for Democracy and Growth, MDG, Kenya Reform Party, KRP, Chama cha Uzalendo, CCU, National Liberal Party, NLP, People's Trust Party, PTP, Ubuntu People's Forum, UPF, Party of National Unity, PNU, Labour Party of Kenya, LPK, and the Party for Growth and Prosperity. In the same letter, according to the registrar, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance comprises 15 political parties, with the United Democratic Alliance, UDA, Amani Congress, National Congress, ANC, Forum for Restoration of Democracy Kenya, Ford Kenya, Chama cha Kazi, Communist Party of Kenya, CPK, the Service Party, TSP, Tuchibebe wa Kenya Party, Farmers Party, Devolution Party of Kenya, Economic Freedom Party, and the Umoja na Maendeleo Party as members of the coalition as of 3rd June 2022. Can the members take their seats? Honorable members, the letter further notes that the Democratic Party, the National Agenda Party of Kenya, the Grand Dream Development Party, and Chama cha Mashinani effectively became members of the coalition on 5th September 2022. The registrar also observed that the National Ordinary People Empowerment Union, NOPEU, is not a member of any of the coalitions. Honorable members, in the letter, the registrar also conveys that Maendeleo Chap Party, Pamoja African Alliance Party, PA, United Democratic Movement, UDM, and Movement for Democracy and Growth, MDG, have filed constitutional petitions and/or objections with regard to their membership of Azimio coalition. It is notable that despite the written request by the Clerk of the National Assembly, the registrar did not convey certified copies of any pre-election or post-election coalition agreement entered into by the parties with the representation in this House in the response to the letter dated 7 September 2022. May I at this juncture, honorable members, report to the House that surprisingly, the registrar today morning at 8:30 a.m. submitted to me through the office of the clerk documents said to be the certified copies of the coalition agreements for the Kenya Kwanza Alliance Coalition and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. Curiously, whereas the registrar's letter to the clerk for the National Assembly is dated 3rd October 2022, the accompanying agreements bear a certification of the following day, which is 4th October 2022. The letter and the documents were delivered to the office of the clerk today, the 6th October 2022, more than 6 weeks after the request by the clerk. Seemingly, this may be read by any reasonable person to be a reaction to the proceedings of the House on Tuesday, 4th October 2022. Nevertheless, I have had occasion to peruse the documents accompanying the letter as against the documents tabled in the House on Tuesday this week. Despite attempting to advise the House on the status of the coalition agreements affecting the composition of the House as at 3rd October 2022, the registrar has again failed to mention the existence of any post-election coalition agreements. This is a glaring omission when viewed against the post-election coalition agreements tabled by the member for Kikuyu constituency during the proceedings. The post-election coalition agreements are critical to the Speaker for purposes of guaranteeing the constitutional rights and political freedoms of the members of this House elected under UDM, PA, MCCP, and MDG. Honorable members, this now brings me to the submissions made by the Honorable Opio Wandai on the significance to be attached to the response of the registrar of political parties, which he also tabled in the House on Tuesday this week, and in subsequent communication from the registrar. It will be recalled, honorable members, that the distinguished member for Ugunja submitted that the Speaker has no other role apart from conveying information contained in the letter by the registrar to the House. You will agree with me that this view is untenable for two main reasons. First, Section 10 of the Political Parties Act 2011 is clear that coalitions are not cast in stone but are an evolving arrangements which can occur both prior to and after election. The registrar has shied away from making a determination on the post-election status of the existing coalitions in light of the submissions made by part of the membership of this House and letters written to me by a number of members relating to post-election coalitions. The Speaker ought not to be a conduit for this indecision insofar as it has the potential of curtailing the business of the House, which is an important constitutional arm of the national government. Secondly, you'll also agree with me, honorable members, that the assertion by the honorable member for Gunja is flawed on account of the history I have given on the House relating to the rationale of introducing Standing Order 2B. It is indeed an established parliamentary practice that the Speaker is not a mere conveyor belt of information. The Speaker must apply his mind to any communication or document before it is presented to the House or admitted for use in the House. This is important in order to comply with the standing orders of this House and to protect the dignity of the House. Honorable members, in the present instance, Standing Order 2B expressly requires the clerk to obtain a certified copy of any coalition agreement to assist the Speaker to ascertain the relative majorities of the House and facilitate the transaction of the business of the House. Certification of the document and determination of its veracity and admissibility is of prime importance. You will agree with me again, honorable members, that there would be chaos in this House if I was to make rulings on the basis of unauthenticated and verifiable and inadmissible documents that affect the rights of members. Honorable members, I do note that unless the Political Parties Act is amended or the House exercises its powers to call for evidence under Article 125 of the Constitution, there currently exists no express statutory obligation to the registrar to furnish the House with the coalition agreements as contemplated under Standing Order 2B. As a matter of fact, the 12th Parliament noted this particular gap and proposed amendments to the Political Parties Act, whose introduction I approved in my communication issued during the afternoon sitting of Tuesday. Those members of JLAC have a job to do to cure this lacuna. Honorable members, attempts were made by members during the afternoon sitting of Tuesday, 4th October 2022, to table coalition agreements in support of the claims by the Kenya Kwanza Coalition and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. You will recall that I ruled the documents tabled by the Honorable Junet Mohammed as inadmissible owing to the inconsistencies that were apparent on the face of the document. The inconsistencies were glaring, especially in light of allegations made by the Honorable David Ocheng's denouncing association of both himself and his party with the coalition political party. Apart from being a member of this House, the Honorable David Ocheng is also the party leader of the Movement for Democracy and Growth, an alleged party to the document tabled by the Honorable Junet Mohammed. In light of the objections raised by the Honorable David Ocheng, the document became a center of particular focus with respect to its legality, validity, and admissibility. The attempt by the Registrar of Political Parties to convey what is said to be a certified copy of the document tabled by the Honorable Junet Mohammed on the 6th October 2022, that's today, has not made things any better, as the document from the registrar, just like the document tabled by the Honorable Junet Mohammed, has the same glaring gaps and inconsistencies that make it inadmissible. The question of admissibility of papers laid in this House has been addressed severally by my predecessors. In the most recent case, the Honorable Justin Muturi distilled previous guidance on the admissibility of documents into 9 brief rules in a communication issued on Tuesday, 10th May 2022, while ruling on the tabling of papers by the then member for Wajir County, the Honorable Fatuma Gedi. The then Speaker ruled that in assessing the admissibility and or authenticity or otherwise of a document tabled in the House, the Speaker ought to examine whether the document, 1, relates to the matter for which it has been tabled, 2, is signed, and if it is a government document, by the authorized person or persons, 3, bears the emblem or logo of the institution or person from which it originated, or coat of arms in the case of documents from government agencies, 4, clearly indicates the author and person to whom it is addressed, 5, discloses the origin or source of the document, 6, bears certification where a document other than the original is being tabled, 7, if electronic, has been obtained from a source that does not permit alteration of content, and 8, is related to a claim made before the House or a committee, or its content has a nexus with the claim. 9, is stamped and clearly indicates the person signing of the stamp. Honorable members, can the honorable members take their seats? Honorable members, a perusal of the document tabled by the Honorable Junaid Mohammed and the version conveyed by the Registrar of Political Parties reveals glaring inconsistencies in both documents. With regard to signatures, there is no uniformity in the manner in which the various pages of the documents have been signed off or initialed. Some pages in the documents contain fewer signatures than others, while page 3 of both documents in particular contain signatures that are hardly visible. The pagination of the two documents is also inconsistent. Order, honorable members. The pagination of the two documents is also inconsistent. Page 1 to 22 bear page numbers. Several pages with signatures bear no page numbers, and a paginated page appears randomly between unpaginated pages. I'm inclined to think that these are superimpositions. Honorable members, may I at this point bring to the attention of the House that several members say to belong to the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party have formally written to my office to denounce the association with the party. In a letter dated 9th September 2022 and received by my office on 22nd September 2022, the member for Ugenya constituency, the Honorable David Ocheng, wrote to convey the decision of his party, the Movement for Democracy and Growth, to terminate its membership with the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. In the letter, the Honorable Ocheng also noted that his party is now a member of Kenya Kwanza Coalition. Honorable members, in letters received by my office on 21st and 22nd September 2022, the Honorable Kenneth Charo, the Honorable Gonzi Rai, and the Honorable Anton Kenga, who were all elected to Parliament on the Pamoja African Alliance party ticket, formally distanced themselves and their party from any association with the Azimio coalition. The three categorically noted that their party should only be associated with the Kenya Kwanza coalition, with which it has entered into its only existing coalition agreement. Additionally, honorable members, in a letter dated 16 September 2022 and received by my office on 19 September 2022, all the 7 members of Parliament elected to the National Assembly under the United Democratic Movement UDM, namely the Honorable Major Retired Bashir Abdullahi, the Honorable Hassan Kulo, the Honorable Haro Abdul Ibrahim, the Honorable Mangale Chiforomodo, the Honorable Yusuf Aden Haji, the Honorable Joseph Lekuton, the Honorable Omulkhair Kasim and the Honorable Suleha Harun again distance themselves and their party from any alleged coalition agreement with the Azimio coalition. Instead, they note in their letter that they are party to a post-election coalition agreement with the Kenya Kwanza coalition. It is their contention that their affiliation with the Kenya Kwanza coalition has seemingly been ignored by the registrar of political parties. Honorable members, it will be recalled that during the debate on this matter on Tuesday this week, the Honorable Cheng, the Honorable Kasait Kamket, the Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, the Honorable Bashir Abdullahi, and the Honorable Kenneth Charo also did raise serious concerns as to the membership of the Movement for Democracy and Growth MDG, the Kenya African National Union KANU, the Maendeleo Chap Party MCCP, the United Democratic Movement UDM, and the Pamoja African Alliance Party in the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. At this stage, honorable members, the question that comes to my mind as your speaker is, what am I meant to do with these contentions? Honorable members, allegations were also made by a number of members on alleged coercion and duress while entering into agreements with one of the coalitions. This, honorable members, I have not finished what I'm saying. This, if true, is a serious affront to the democratic rights and freedoms that we enjoy as citizens of this country. As a seasoned lawmaker and a lawyer, I note that the political freedoms granted to Kenyans by the Bill of Rights must be taken very seriously in the affairs of political parties. If I were to rely on the coalition agreements tabled before this House, I would find great fault in any provision seeking to limit the political rights of members of this House. Honorable members, our Constitution is very rights-centric. In any ruling I make as your Speaker, I must be guided by the provisions of Article 3, Article 10, and Article 21 of the Constitution. These provisions require me to uphold, respect, and defend the Constitution whenever applying myself on any questions brought before me. I'm also under obligation to jealously protect the rights and freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution to all members of this House and indeed all Kenyans. You will note, honorable members, that even when making laws, all of you are enjoined under Article 24 of the Constitution to ensure that any limits you place on a right or freedom are expressly stated and that the limitation is reasonable and justifiable in an open and democratic society. Having looked at the drafting style of the Political Parties Act vis-a-vis the requirements of Article 24(2) of the Constitution, it is evident that the Political Parties Act does not manifest or declare any intent whatsoever to limit the rights guaranteed under Article 36 of the Constitution on the freedom of association and Article 38 of the Constitution on political rights. Honorable members, political rights are not absolute. They may be limited in a manner that is consistent with the provisions of Article 24 of the Constitution. Indeed, the Political Parties Act does not engage in the substantive limitations of rights, but only deals with procedural exercise of those rights in terms of timelines. Honorable members, indeed, the architecture of the Act is that timelines are only prescribed with respect to activities that fall before the election date, which seem to be related to the management of the election calendar. There are no timelines prescribed for activities after the election date. From the provisions of the Act, it appears that a person is at liberty to join and leave political parties as long as they notify the registrar of their actions. Honorable members, I'm not sure whether a provision of a coalition agreement regulating the period within which a member may exit a coalition would pass the test of being compliant with the Political Parties Act in the first instance, or the Constitution, or the Constitution in the second instance. Fortunately, that is not for me to decide. I trust those who are aggrieved will find their way to courts of law in exercise of their powers under Article 165 of the Constitution. Honorable members, noting that some of the matters raised were said to be pending either in the political parties' disputes tribunal or the court, I shall refrain from pronouncing myself on such. Honorable members, let me now turn to the nexus between the letter from the Registrar of Political Parties and the several Gazette notices published by the IEBC with respect to your election or nomination as members of this House. Based on Gazette notices 9950 and 9951 of 2022, both dated 23rd August 2022, Gazette Notice 10535 of 2022, dated 5th September 2022, Gazette Notice number 10537 of 2022, dated 7th September 2022, and Gazette Notice number 10710 of 2022, dated 9th September 2022, the current composition of the National Assembly by individual political parties is as follows. United Democratic Alliance, UDA, 145. Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, 86. Jubilee Political Party, 28. Wiper Democratic Movement, 26. United Democratic Movement, 8. Amani National Congress, 8. Ford Kenya, 6. Kenya African National Union, KANU, 6. Democratic Alliance, part of Kenya, 5. Pamoja African Alliance, PA, 3. Kenya Union Party, 3. United Party of Independent Alliance, UPIA, 2. Maendeleo Chap, 2. The Service Party, TSP, 2. United Progressive Alliance Party, UPA, 1. National Alliance Party of Kenya, NAPK, 1. National Ordinary People Empowerment Union, NOPEU, 1. Grand Dream Development Party, 1. Democratic Party, DP, 1. Movement for Democracy and Growth, MDG, 1. Chama cha Mashinani, 1. Honorable members, reference to the letter by the Registrar of Political Parties will give the cumulative number of the members of the constituent parties of what the Registrar refers to as the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party as 171 members and against 165 members of the constituent parties of what the Registrar refers to as the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. However, it is notable that a total of 14 members are drawn from 4 parties, that is UDM, MDG, MCP, and PA, who according to the letter of the Registrar have filed constitutional petitions and objections against their membership in Azimio. This implies that the letter from the Registrar may not be used to compute the membership of the majority and minority parties by dint of the admission contained in it on the existing constitutional petitions and objections. Honorable members, it will also be recalled that the members of UDM, MDG, MCCP, and PA have claimed they signed pre-election and post-election coalition agreements with the Kenya Kwanza Alliance Coalition. Cumulatively, the membership of the 4 parties in this House is 14. If these members were to be added to the 165 members of the initial constituent parties of Kenya Kwanza Coalition, the coalition would comprise a total of 179 members. Consequently, the Azimio coalition would then, I have not finished this ruling at all. Order, members. If you listen, I'm sure the Honorable Mbandi, you know the difference between if and when. I'm sure you know the difference between if and when. Consequently, the Azimio coalition would then comprise a total of 157 members. However, honorable members, the pending constitutional cases and objections by members of UDM, MDG, MCCP, and PA, noted by the registrar of political parties in addition to the letters sent by the members and the contentions recorded during Tuesday's sitting, have a profound bearing on the matter at hand insofar as the same relates to the business of the House. At this stage, honorable members, the House has a choice to either hold its proceedings and await the determination of matters that are before the Political Parties Disputes Tribunal or the courts, or to permit the Speaker to make a decision that facilitates this House to continue discharging its constitutional functions. In any event, all the honorable members, you will hear the Speaker in silence. In any event, members are aware that the sub judice rule is a rule that the House imposes on itself. It can never be contemplated that the House can curtail the performance of its own mandate. Can the honorable members at the bar take their seats? Yes. Honorable members, take your seats or take your walk. I've given you. Okay, honorable members, as this includes, among others, the formation of not only the House Business Committee, but also other key committees of the House, whose membership must be appointed within a prescribed timeline of 7 days, and others that are extremely critical to the functioning of this House and the national government. Honorable members, the committees that ought to be constituted within 7 days include the following: the House Business Committee, which determines, prioritizes, approves the business to be considered by this House under Standing Order 171. The Committee on Selection, which is responsible for nominating members to serve in committees under Standing Order 172. The Committee on Appointments, which is responsible for vetting of persons nominated to serve as cabinet secretaries under Article 152(2) of the Constitution. The Budget and Appropriations Committee, which is responsible for consideration of the budget estimates. The National Government Constituencies Development Fund Committee, which is responsible for overseeing the policy and legislative framework matters relating to NGCDF. This is especially important, noting the need for a forum to deliberate some current matters that you are all fully aware of. Honorable members, the disclosure by the registrar relating to the petitions and objections, the letters by the members of the four parties, the oral objections raised in this House, and the need to promote the continuity of the business of the House while respecting the due process of the courts of law, presents this House with a complex situation that requires balanced consideration of the intent and the philosophy behind the provisions of Article 108 and Article 124 of the Constitution. Honorable members, in determining this delicate balance between the provisions that establishes the leadership positions of the House and the provisions which empowers this House to make its own rules of procedure, due regard must be given to Article 3 of the Constitution, which requires all persons to protect, defend, and uphold the Constitution, and Article 10 of the Constitution, which requires one to apply the national values and principles of governance when interpreting the Constitution. Honorable members, I note that the four parties that I mentioned cumulatively comprise 14 members. The members elected this House under the four parties have exercised their freedom of association under Article 36 of the Constitution. They have already migrated to the Kenya Kwanza Alliance both in writing and in action. The parties are already enjoying the benefits accruing from their membership of the Kenya Kwanza coalition, based on the coalition agreements that they signed and deposited with the registrar. Indeed, honorable members, as noted earlier, the 14 members have written to me, distancing themselves and their parties from the Azimio coalition, and have called upon the Speaker to recognize their coalition agreement with Kenya Kwanza with respect to the business of this House. I also did note the verbal representation made by the 14 members during the debate on Tuesday, the 4th of October. Honorable members, I started by noting the sentiments of the Honorable John Badi on the fact that the members comprising the leadership of Kenya Kwanza Coalition and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party was not in contention. Indeed, no objection was raised during the debate on the issue of either proposing an alternative lineup or the alluding to the existence of any other coalition comprising any parties with the representation in this House. Having addressed the question of who between the Kenya Kwanza Coalition and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition is entitled to appoint the leader of the majority party, allow me to discharge my responsibilities under Standing Order 19A4 and 24 with respect to the leadership of the House in the 13th Parliament. Honorable members, allow me now to address the House on the fate of the letters from Jeremiah Kioni before I come to that point. The Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, which I mentioned in my communication on Tuesday, 4th October. The Jubilee Party, and indeed any other parliamentary party, is at liberty to designate its party leaders and whips by dint of the provisions of Standing Order 20A, which provides for the recognition of parliamentary parties. Specifically, the Standing Order provides that a parliamentary party has the right to designate a leader and whip of the party in the House for purposes of the transaction of the business of the House. However, in parliamentary practice, the House frowns upon any purported communication emanating from strangers, especially if the matter relates to the internal organization of sections within the House. This is intended to ensure that the House only deals with persons that it can interact with and hold to account should need arise. For clarity, Standing Order 28.3 provides, and I quote, the names of the members designated as party whips shall be communicated to the Speaker in writing by the leader of the majority party on behalf of the majority party, by the leader of the minority party on behalf of the minority party, and the leader of a parliamentary party in the National Assembly in a case of a parliamentary party that is not part of the coalition forming the majority party or the minority party. In order to facilitate the transaction of the business of the House, the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party are required to forward to me the names of members who shall sit in the 5 critical committees that I mentioned earlier. Honorable members, Standing Order 1711F provides that apart from the House leadership, the House Business Committee consists of 9 other members nominated by the parliamentary parties, reflecting the relative majorities and taking into consideration the interests of parties other than parliamentary parties and independents. Furthermore, honorable members, Standing Order 1711C provides that besides the House leadership, the Committee on Selection consists of not less than 11 and not more than 21 members nominated by the parliamentary parties, reflecting the relative majorities and taking into consideration the interests of parties other than parliamentary parties and independents. Standing Order 2041 provides that apart from the leadership of the House, Committee on Appointments consists of not more than 15 other members nominated by the House Business Committee on the basis of proportional party membership, taking into account consideration the numerical strength of the parties and interests of independents. Honorable members, upon formation of the committees on selection, I will be asking the party leadership to nominate members for appointment to the rest of the committees within particular priority to the Budget and Appropriations Committee and the National Government Constituency Development Fund Committee. It is imperative that in nominating the members of the committees, majority and minority leaders should, as much as possible, take into account and consideration the gender representation, the need for national balance, and the interests of parties other than parliamentary parties, and indeed the independents. As to the completeness of the membership of the aforementioned committees, you will note that I have reserved some slots for independent members in each of the 3 committees whose nomination ratios I have specified. This is to ensure adherence to the standing orders, which require the recognition of the various shades of opinion represented in the House. As my predecessor noted in the 12th Parliament, the Speaker should protect the independent members and small parties in the nomination to and discharge from committees. Honorable members, in summary, therefore, my considered determination on the matter raised is as follows. 1. Alleged coercion. That the consideration of the various allegations of coercion and duress at the time of entering into coalition agreements and an appropriate remedy for the same lies outside the authority of this House. 2. The place of members of UDM, PA, MCCP, and MDG. That in my considered opinion, it will be imprudent to treat the 14 members elected to the House under the UDM, Pamoja African Alliance, Maendeleo Chap Chap, and the Movement for Democracy and Growth, MDG, as part of a coalition that they have expressly distanced themselves from and their parties. I am therefore persuaded that the 14 members and their parties are part of the Kenya Kwanza coalition. This, in my view, would be fair and in accordance with the previous rulings by my predecessors on related matters. 3, that with the 14 members, the membership of the Kenya Kwanza coalition stands at 179 members, while the membership of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party stands at 157 members. This, by implication, indicates that the Kenya Kwanza coalition is the majority party, and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is the minority party in this House. 4, that the Kenya Kwanza coalition is entitled to appoint the leader of the majority party, while the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is entitled to appoint the leader of the minority party. Consequent upon the foregoing, honorable members, the leadership of the majority party will be as follows. The member for Kikuyu constituency, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Can the members take their seats? The member for Kilifi North, the Honorable Owen Baya, is the deputy leader of the majority party. The member for South Mugirango, the Honorable Silvanos Osoro, is the majority party whip. The member for Marsabit County, the Honorable Naomi Jilo Wako, is the deputy majority whip. Leadership of the minority party. That with regard to the minority party, the member for Ugunja, the Honorable Opio Wandai, is the leader of the minority party. The member for Kadiani, the Honorable Robert Mbui, is the deputy leader of the minority party. The member for Suna East, the Honorable Junet Muhammad, is the minority party whip. And the nominated member, the Honorable Sabina Chege, is the deputy minority whip. The letters from the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, I have already touched on those, and we need not bother about them. That with respect to the House Business Committee, the leader of the majority party, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, and the leader of the minority party, the Honorable Pio Wandayi, are directed to submit not more than 4 members each to my office latest by 10 a.m. on Tuesday, 11th October 2022. That with respect to the composition of the Committee on Selection, the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party are to submit 10 members and 9 members respectively to my office by the same date. That composition of the Committee on Appointments, that with respect to the composition of the Committee on Appointments, the leader of the majority party, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, MP, and the leader of the minority party, the Honorable Pio Wandayi, MP, are to submit not more than 7 members each to my office latest 10 a.m. on Tuesday, 11th October 2022. That upon receipt of the names of the members of the House Business Committee, the clerk is hereby directed to cause the list to be published in the order paper on Tuesday, 11th October 2022. The clerk is also directed to ensure that the names of the members to serve in the Committee on Selection and the Committee on Appointments are presented to the House Business Committee when the committee sits on Tuesday, 11th October 2022. That while it will be construed in the interim that the minority party has designated its leadership, the leader of the minority party, the Honorable Pio Wandayi, MP, is hereby required to regularize the designation of the whip and the deputy whip of the minority party according with the requirements of Standing Order 20A3. Remember, previously we were notified by the Honorable Junet. It's actually now the Honorable Wandayi to notify the leadership and the Speaker on who your whips are. That with respect to any member belonging to any party other than a parliamentary party, as your Speaker, I will endeavor to ensure the power afforded to me by Standing Order 174(2)B is upheld. I will not accept or approve any list of committee membership that does not take into account the interests of independent members and parties other than parliamentary parties, the ones we commonly refer to as small parties. That pursuant to Standing Order 259, the marked seats in the front row of the chamber to my right and to my left are reserved for the persons occupying the offices of leadership of the majority party and the leadership of the minority party, respectively. That in accordance with Article 108 of the Constitution, the Parliamentary Service Act 209 and Standing Order 19, the Clerk of the National Assembly is hereby directed to take the necessary measures to facilitate the leadership of the House that has been appointed to move into their respective offices and access all other entitlements relating to their offices as has been approved by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission and the Parliamentary Service Commission. In conclusion, honorable members, today's guidance has been informed by my solemn duty to facilitate the continuity of the business of this House. The House will be at a standstill without a clear guidance on the leadership of the House. It is so directed. We now go back to the debate on the presidential address. Yes, the Honorable Wandayi.
Yes, the Speaker, I listened keenly to your ruling on this contentious issue. Whereas, of course, I don't agree with it, I would wish to acknowledge the fact that this House operates in a quasi-judicial manner. And therefore, in line with the rules of natural justice, tenets of democracy, and established jurisprudence, I would wish to give notice that we shall be moving, Mr. Speaker, shall be moving you to review your decision. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, I'll be asking you to give me opportunity to make certain submissions or to make an application for you to review your decision, which is obviously in line with the established jurisprudential practice. I will be again asking you to direct the clerk to facilitate my coalition with the certified copies of your ruling, if possible, by close of business today. Mr. Speaker, I say this with tremendous respect to your office and to the institution of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, it's important for us to establish a culture of openness, transparency, and indeed to work consciously towards entrenching democracy and the rule of law. So I will be asking you, Mr. Speaker, to allow me to make that application formally at the earliest possible opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I'm seeking leave.
Order, honorable members. Honorable members, in the tradition of the House and our standing orders and practice, once the Speaker makes a ruling such as the one I have made, is not subject to debate, it is not appealable, and it stands as it is. I want to take the opportunity, the Honorable Wandai and all members of the House, to salute you and thank you for the decorum that you have exhibited through the close to 1 hour that I delivered the ruling. I want to encourage the House that a decision has been made. Let the chips lie where they fell. Take up your offices. Carry out a robust and vibrant oversight of the government, and make sure that public resources from taxpayers are put to good use. Audit them vigorously, and make sure that you do everything possible within the law to ensure that we have a responsible parliament with both sides being responsive to the needs of the people of Kenya. There will be no further debate on this matter. You know the rules. You are all very senior members, honorable members, and the new colleagues who have come in want to learn from you, and don't give them misdirections on procedure. I want now to go to the next order that we had abandoned, to take the ruling, and I'll give the floor to the Honorable Member Abdikader Mohamud of Lagdera. On the same matter? The same Order, Honorable Member. Order, Honorable Junet. Order, Honorable Members. Honorable Junet. Order, Honorable Junet. I have given direction. The ruling of the chair is a public document. It will be on the parliamentary website. You can get it in the course of the evening or tomorrow, depending on what the clerks will do. And you can analyze it, you can critique it, you can do many things about it except debating it on the floor of this House. I indulge the distinguished member for Ugunja, being your leader, to make a comment, which he did, and we've taken it in the stride. And I've given him direction, and you can see how distinguished he is in respect of what I've said. I want to urge you members that we have called the next order which we had left before the ruling, and the member for Lagdera, if he is on the floor, he can continue with the debate. If he is not, we give the floor to the next member. Go on, member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Lagdera, if you want to cede your position, we can give to somebody else.
Proceed. Right now. Thank you.
Order, honorable members, order. Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, order. Order, honorable members. The member for Lagdera, you will forfeit your position. You don't want to speak. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Yes. Yes. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. It's Wanjala who grabbed the mess. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Order. Give me for Tuesday. Honorable members, order, honorable members, this House will stand adjourned until Tuesday, Order. The House will be adjourned until Tuesday, the 11th of October, 2022 at 2:30 p.m. Order.